In the fall of 2001, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series arrived at the California Speedway in Fontana. The paddock was buzzing, not about the championship battle, but about a scrawny 16-year-old kid from Las Vegas named Kyle Busch. He didn't even have a valid driver's license to drive on public highways without a parent in the passenger seat. Yet, driving for legendary team owner Jack Roush, he was already out practicing grown men at nearly 180 miles per hour. NASCAR had no rule against it if you were fast enough, had a license from the sanctioning body, but Kyle's raw speed triggered an immediate corporate crisis. The weekend's event was the Marlboro 500. Under the strict terms of the 1998 Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement, tobacco companies were legally barred from sponsoring events where athletes under the age of 18 competed. British American Tobacco realized that if this 16-year-old kid took the green flag in a Marlboro-backed event, it could trigger billions of dollars in legal penalties. They gave NASCAR an ultimatum. Midway through the race weekend, NASCAR officials walked into the Roush Racing garage. Kyle was ordered to step out of the truck, strip off his fire suit, and leave the property immediately. He was thrown out of the track not because he lacked talent, but because his very existence was a corporate liability. To ensure this nightmare would never happen again, NASCAR acted instantly. Before the 2002 season launched, they codified a brand new mandatory age floor. No driver under the age of 18 would be permitted to compete in its top 3 national touring series. Kyle Busch was sent into a 2-year racing exile. He was forced back to local short tracks and late models, waiting out the clock until his 18th birthday. NASCAR had built its first wall specifically designed to hold back Kyle Busch. It wouldn't be the last. By 2010, Kyle Busch was a full-time Cup Series superstar, but he had a dangerous addiction. He couldn't stop winning. While his peers rested on Fridays and Saturdays, Busch spent his weekends moonlighting in the Nationwide and Truck Series, driving elite equipment for Joe Gibbs Racing and his own startup, Kyle Busch Motorsports. He wasn't just competing, he was obliterating the field. He was entering 20 to 30 lower series races a year, utterly dominating young prospects who were trying to catch the eyes of sponsors. Fans were furious. Television ratings for the lower series began to soften because the conclusion felt entirely predetermined. The garage screamed that Busch was killing the sports development system. Daytona executives knew they had to save their developmental series from its own apex predator. In 2011, they introduced the first phase of what the garage universally called the Kyle Busch rules. For the first time in modern history, drivers were forced to select only one single national series to earn championship points in. NASCAR thought that stripping him of the trophy at the end of the year would deter him. It didn't. Busch famously declared he didn't care about the points. He only cared about the winner's check and the trophy. He kept racing, and he kept winning. So, NASCAR tightened the screws again. In 2017, they implemented a hard cap. Cup veterans with more than 5 years of experience were limited to 10 Xfinity starts and 7 truck starts per year. They were completely banned from regular season finales and playoff races. When even that didn't stop him from maximizing his limited appearances, NASCAR squeezed the cage completely shut in 2020, dropping the limit to a maximum of just 5 races per year. NASCAR had to fundamentally restructure the economic and competitive landscape of his secondary series simply because one man was too good at his job. On February 21st, 2015, Kyle Busch was racing at the Xfinity Series opener at Daytona. With just a handful of laps remaining, a massive multi-car crash sends Kyle Busch's car sliding wildly off the asphalt, careening into an inside concrete wall at an angle that bypassed the track's energy-absorbing safer barriers. The impact was catastrophic. Busch suffered a compound fracture to his right lower leg and a fractured left foot. His season was seemingly over before the Daytona 500 even began. He would miss the first 11 races of the year. This posed an unprecedented regulatory dilemma for NASCAR. Under the newly implemented elimination playoff format, the rules explicitly stated that to be eligible for the championship, a driver must start every single regular season race. No exceptions. By the letter of the law, Kyle Busch was mathematically dead in the water. But the sanctioning body was caught in a corner. One of the biggest stars was sidelined due to a structural safety failure of the track itself. If Busch returned midseason with no hope of racing for a championship, his entire year would be a meaningless marketing exercise. Facing immense pressure, NASCAR buckled and altered its competitive paradigm. They granted Busch a historical medical waiver. The terms were steep. Busch had to return to the car, win a regular season race, and somehow claw his way into the top 30 in total driver points, despite giving the entire field an 11-race head start. What followed was the most ferocious comeback in the history of American motorsports. Busch didn't just win a race. He won 4 out of 5 during the summer stretch, stormed into the top 30, and advanced all the way to Homestead, Miami to hoist the trophy. By altering the rules to accommodate his injury, NASCAR created the official playoff waiver protocol. Today, every single time a driver is injured, suspended, or misses a race for an extraordinary circumstance, the entire industry looks back to the structural framework created for Kyle Busch in 2015. Kyle Busch's war with the rulebook wasn't confined to seasonal structures. It extended to the microseconds of active race control. He looked at the caution flag not as a break in the action, but as a tactical weapon. During an intense race at Texas, furious with the officiating call, Busch broke an unwritten rule. He deliberately passed the pace car under yellow flag conditions to make a point. In other events, he mastered the art of restart manipulation, deliberately slowing down below the pace car speed or abruptly accelerating before the designated restart box to catch his opponents off guard. His psychological warfare during caution periods created total chaos in the field. Drivers complained that his erratic pace car management was dangerous. Once again, NASCAR had to step in and codify behavior that had previously been governed by a gentleman's agreement. They heavily tightened the wording and severity of penalties regarding a driver's interaction with the pace car. Passing the pace car became an immediate multi-lap penalty. They introduced hard electronic tracking to monitor restart speeds inside the zone. They had to automate race control because Kyle Busch had weaponized the yellow flag. Even as an elder statesman of the sport, Kyle Busch never stopped trying to rewrite the regulations. He was a racer who grew up in an era where you raced anything, anywhere, anytime. In his final years, he found himself trapped by the very restrictions NASCAR had built to contain him a decade prior. He reached out directly to NASCAR Executive Vice President Steve O'Donnell with a final proposal, the over 40 rule. His pitch was brilliant in its simplicity. Once a driver reaches the age of 40, all previous lower series start limitations should be completely waived. Let the aging drivers return to full-time schedules in the Truck or Xfinity series if they want to build teams or transition their careers, without taking away spots from young drivers in playoff races. NASCAR executives publicly admitted they were actively analyzing the proposal. It was the ultimate testament to his impact on the sport. Most drivers spend their entire careers trying to fit inside the mold that NASCAR creates. Kyle Busch did the opposite. He drove with such unyielding, aggressive intensity that the sport had to constantly reshape its mold just to keep itself together. He wasn't just a driver, a champion, or a team owner. Kyle Busch was the ultimate architect of modern stock car racing. The rulebook is his truest biography.